Agatha all alone. Episode 4. If I can't reach you, let my song teach you. We learn some new information, and we have a new witch on the road. Let's discuss it. All right, guys, Brent here back with you, Variant. So I cover all things Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, anime, gaming, Star Wars, and more. This time, Agatha all along. And I gotta say, all along, this show has continued to be as middle of the road as it possibly can be. Like the writing's not great, but it's not terrible. The music's good, but not bad. The acting is some are fantastic, some are bad. It's just this weird myriad where the show has continued to just be in this weird middle state. And considering we're 4 episodes in out of a 9 episode series, we're in kind of this weird dilemma. We got a lot of new information in this episode, but again, we're left with more questions than answers. It seems to be following a lot of that whole WandaVision vibe, or at least trying to recapture what WandaVision was, back when that first came out, 4 or 5 years ago. And I gotta say, I don't necessarily think we're hitting that mark. Sure, we're doing time travel themes where we're going like every 10, 20 years and just kind of boom, here's a theme for this, boom, here's a theme for that. It's fun for the costume people. It's interesting from a perspective of narration. But again, as far as necessary for the show, I wouldn't go all that far. What we learned from this episode is that there was a whole new story involving Alice's mom. Alice's mom was not necessarily searching out the witch's road. She was necessarily traveling with her coven, which was her followers and her band, to try and help find different routes to make sure that the road could continue to be safe. There turns out there was a generational curse upon Alice's mom, upon Alice, and if Alice ever had a child, just continue on down and down and down the path. And that ultimately she was, she just died on tour. She wasn't lost to the road. But in a sense, she was lost to Alice on the road because of her quest to try and ensure that she was able to at least find a way to get to the road for her, if you will. It wasn't necessarily that she died there. She was searching for it. Things didn't necessarily turn up all that good. So, in a sense, new twist, but not necessarily all that great information. As we're moving on, we kind of figure out we need to replace our Green Witch because we lost the one and the only Sharon. RIP to her. That was the one witch I was absolutely fond of on the show. Now she's gone. And in turn of summoning a replacement, it turns out we had Aubrey Plaza as Rio reappear in the road. And it had a very interesting moment where she first appeared where she was acting all zombie like and like her body was kind of sounding like it was doing cracking and decaying, like when a zombie just has those weird twitches and movements, kind of like a ghoul would have, where things are definitely not human in any sense of the word. And ultimately, it looks like once more trying to give at least a nod to the character, because as we discussed last week with the Funko Pop accidental drop, that Wiccan is probably the teen, and that death is likely Aubrey Plaza's character Rio. So at this moment in time, it looks like those seem to be sticking more and more nail on the head as we go episode by episode. So it kind of seems to be a weird twist of evolving those characters. As we learn more about Rio, we can see that Agatha is definitely uncomfortable with her. They have a significant amount of history, it turns out. And every chance they got, Rio kept trying to sneak off to go hang out with Agatha and have some intimate level of conversation, ultimately leading to them going into a recording studio because they traveled further down the witch's road on the next trial. And there was a speaker button, which of course Agatha hit. So Rio accidentally broadcasted some of her plans of what was going on to most of the other witches, which Rio seems entirely unfazed by in any single manner, shape, or form. Ultimately, it turns out that the generational curse followed them in along the witch's road, and turns out it is a literal demon with devil wings, horns on its head, and is definitely going through a lot of interesting things as we have seen involving that one particular just demon continually popping up time and time again. And then again, if you're following along with subtitles, there's a little piece of, I think, tidbit that keeps popping up every time the word magic is coming up. It's coming up spelled Magick. And again, if you spell magic normally, it's Magic. So the fact that they have the K on there kind of means, for me at least, that there's some kind of nod to something else going on overall. Because again, it's not the X-Men character Magic, Magik, but there could be something more that is going on overall. Again, as we try and discover everything going on involving the cursed object, the music starts having a weird moment where music is playing in reverse. You know, kind of how like the Stairway to Heaven, when played in reverse, had a whole bunch of issues and a whole bunch of people being like, oh, it means this, 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 and this. Well, ultimately, turns out it unleashed the curse, which then started attacking them. So they had to take Rio's knife, draw a circle around our characters, and provide some kind of protection spell using Alice's magic. Turns out that ultimately they needed to play a song played it forward called Luna's Ballad in order to go ahead and undo this whole, it's Larna's Ballad, in order to undo the curse that everyone has been kind of dealing with in a matter of speaking, so they can undo what was going on. In all of the chaos, the team gets yeeted through a window, shattering it and getting pierced by glass. As the song continues to progress, the glass continues gets a little bit deeper and deeper into him, and some of the witches continue to get attacked. Ultimately, they're able to best it because Alice stops phoning it in and ultimately ends up saving the witches in that regard. As they finish the trial, they go down into the next layer for the trial. They see that the teen is significantly injured. But once more, our spell witch comes in absolutely clutch, saves him, and ultimately we get a very, very tender moment between Agatha and the teen, which was going great up until the teen, of course, did not read the room and was like, "Hey, Agatha, what really happened to your son?" So, for all intensive purposes, that he didn't read the room, causes significant issue. Agatha storms off, and then basically she rushes past everyone, goes to go back to join the campfire as they're kind of swapping Scar and war stories of their times as witches. One witch had been bitten by a vampire, one Agatha had been attacked by the Lady of Liberty, and then ultimately bested them, or what all ulterior motives seem, if she's being honest. Then she kind of goes and wanders off, only for Rio to go follow her and then kind of just like poke and play at her back, leading to this really, really intimate moment up until again, Rio is just like, hey, that boy isn't yours, Agatha. You know that, right? And ultimately causing Agatha to storm off as she's frustrated with the situation that happened on hand. I think it's very interesting that Rio went out of her way to do this, considering she knows what she wants. But she did divulge by the campfire that she had to take something from someone that deeply hurt them, but it's part of her job. So there's nothing she really could have done about it. So their relationship seems to be very tense. I'm assuming it has to do with Agatha's lost son. And again, Wiccan, or the teen, is still trying to figure out more about Agatha, figure out whether or not she's really who she says she is, and things are going to go in the manner in which she intends for them to go. But hey, so far, a lot of more questions than answers. Seems to be about as mid gets. I'm hoping that episode 5 will come at us with all the heat, because we need some exciting stuff to discuss moving forward. If you love the content, be sure to hit that lovely red subscribe button. I have been Brent for Geek Variants. I'll see you guys later tonight for Lord of the Rings of Power. See you.